Justice isn't found in the design of a courthouse, but rather in the character and the integrity of the people who reside within. From the marshal who greets each prospective juror at the door, to the clerk who skillfully manages the paperwork, to the talented blend of court staff, attorneys, and judges who work together to achieve a fair and just resolution. The Southern District of California has succeeded through dedicated hard work and constant innovation. Today we celebrate that success by thanking those who set the Southern District in motion 50 years ago. In 1949, Judge Jacob Weinberger was assigned by the District Court in Los Angeles as the first resident federal judge in San Diego. In 1954, Congress authorized a second judicial position, but the presiding judge would not assign anyone to the position. This started an ongoing effort to break San Diego away from Los Angeles. The campaign to create a new district was led by local attorney Sherwood Roberts, Congressman Bob Wilson, and Lionel Van Deerlin, and others, including Judge James Carter, who was assigned the second seat in San Diego in 1958.
I clerked for Judge Carter from 1963 to 1964, before the Southern District was created. At that time, we were known as the Southern Division of the Southern District, which was based in Los Angeles. My position was really as a Los Angeles law clerk, serving in San Diego with Judge Carter. That year was like living in a dream, to be working in the chambers of such a magnificent and extremely well-respected judge.
On March 18, 1966, Congress approved the creation of 4 districts in California, including the Southern District. Our court officially opened on September the 16th, 1966. The Honorable James M. Carter was the first Chief Judge of the new Southern District and the only active judge, with Jacob Weinberger hearing cases as a senior judge.
When the district first formed and split from Los Angeles, it did not have enough judges to handle the caseload, and so the Ninth Circuit would send visiting judges to help out.
In 1966, the Southern District of California was overwhelmed with criminal cases. They took up about 80 to 90% of the court's docket. Most of the defendants were indigent, and there was a great need for defense counsel. Judge Carter wanted to create a model defender office with the creation of the new district. He mobilized the bar, and with the help of a National Defender Project grant, created the first defender office in San Diego.
During my time as Judge Carter's clerk, he was being vetted for a nomination to the Ninth Circuit by the Kennedy administration. That all went by the wayside due to the tragic death of the president. He was later nominated by President Johnson and went to the Ninth Circuit in 1967 after serving for 1 year as the Southern District's first Chief Judge. We were lucky to have him for that extra period.
Judge Weinberger came over to the United States at the age of 7 on the ship, so immigration was very dear to his heart. He was a remarkable person. He presided over more than 16,000 naturalizations during his tenure. He was short in height, but very tall in stature.
Judge Carter was a very decisive man. He was willing to experiment and try to make the handling of this huge caseload easier.
He had tremendous character and insight and was a very hardworking man. When he passed away in 1979, the local newspaper headline called him the Dean of the San Diego Judiciary.
In the 1970s, Judge Schwartz was the driving force behind the construction of the courthouse that now bears his name. Funding was limited, and Chief Justice Warren Burger ordered that the courtroom size be substantially reduced. The locals call these Tom Thumb courtrooms. Against serious judicial opposition, Judge Schwartz went to Congress and testified in support of the larger courtroom and won the day.
He was always a gentleman, and he sought for collegiality. He started weekly judges' meetings, so if there were issues within the court, they could deal with them promptly.
Judge Judy Keep, our first female judge and chief judge, was a mentor to me. She was well known for her infectious laugh and her humor, and she worked hard to make our court more user-friendly.
By the time I was appointed in 1992, Judge Keep had been on the bench for 12 years. So she really was a mentor and pioneer.
Judge Keep was the heart and soul of the court. I had a client who had terminal cancer, and every day during the trial, Judge Keep would send her clerk out into the courtroom with one of her homemade teapots, making sure my client had sustenance throughout the trial.
District Court Judge Rhodes worked with Jim Myers, the chief judge of the bankruptcy court, to refurbish the abandoned former courthouse and originally the Customs House, which opened as the Jacob Weinberger U.S. Courthouse on April 22, 1994. It was a classy renovation. It evokes the original look of the 1910 Customs House. It was very innovative and is one of the finest working courthouses in California.
He had a sense of humor. People did not realize the sense of humor that he had, because it was always like the side winks to the deputy over to the side. He just had a great personality. He kept it mostly hidden so people didn't really know it, but for those people that did know him, he was a delight. I mean, he was throwing Christmas parties in the courtroom. He had a delightful personality.
San Diego is the 8th largest city in the United States, with a population exceeding 1.3 million, and the county exceeding 3 million. Along our border with Mexico, over 74 million people entered the United States last year. Given these numbers, it is no surprise that the Southern District ranks 4th in the nation in felony filings, primarily illegal immigration and illicit drug trafficking cases. With this growth in population and filings, the size of the bench needed to grow, and grow in a way that would reflect the population it served.
When I took over as chief judge in 1998, the Southern District of California had the highest number of cases per judge in the nation, with a workload that was double compared to the rest of the courts. At the time, we only had 8 judges plus senior judges, but we were relatively diverse, with Judge Judith Keep as our first female judge, Judge Earl Gilliam as our first African-American judge, Judge Irma Gonzalez is one of the first Hispanic female judges in the United States, and Judge Napoleon Jones as our second African-American judge.
I was sworn in as a district court judge around the same time as Justice Sotomayor was sworn in as a district court judge. It was a real honor for me to be the first Latina district court judge in California.
During my term as chief judge, Judge Mary Schroeder was chief of the Ninth Circuit, Judge Louise Adler was the chief bankruptcy judge, and Magistrate Judge Louisa Porter was the presiding magistrate judge of our district. I am not aware of any other instance where women held every court leadership position at the same time. We even took a picture to document it.
We definitely have a much more diverse group of judges, but there's much more that can be done. I truly believe that an individual who's appointed to the bench has to be qualified, but I think one should also look at the person's background and whether that person represents the community in a diverse way.
Congress established the position of magistrate in 1968. Our Southern District was one of only 5 districts in the country, and the only one on the West Coast, to test the waters as a pilot program.
When I was a magistrate, Harry McHugh was the presiding magistrate judge. In the 1960s and 70s, when the district court judges were inundated with criminal cases, Magistrate Judge McHugh pushed for the magistrate judges to control civil discovery and civil settlement conferences. Instead of using a lawyer panel, I developed and wrote the procedures for our early neutral evaluation process using Judge McHugh's settlement conferences as a starting point.
The magistrate judges in our district have a real collegiality. There is a certain synergy that goes along with that, encouraging the sharing of ideas, issues, and approaches to things. Our court is a wonderful place to work, and we have a great relationship with the district judges. Because most matters never go to trial, the magistrate judge is often the only judge that the parties will see. We are often the face of the court, and we take that very seriously.
The genesis of the bankruptcy court dates back to 1961, when Lou Karp was appointed a bankruptcy referee. He was later joined by Arlene Rossi, but both had very limited authority. The bankruptcy court in its present form was created by Congress in 1978, bringing in judges in place of referees. In 1984, the year I was appointed to the court, Congress fixed existing problems with the court's jurisdiction and powers by making it an adjunct of the district court.
It is an innovative court. We are unique with our early neutral evaluation program, and nowhere else do the district court judges meet as a whole every week to review the business of the court. In 2011, our court was selected to be in a pilot program for patent litigation. Our court is user-friendly and it fosters a cooperative spirit.
I practice in the Northern and Central Districts often. The Southern District legal community is by far more tight-knit. The judges really get to know you. It has a small-town feel about it.
I started with the Southern District in 1968 as the first secretary to the first clerk of court, Bill Luddy. The criminal case filings varied dramatically during my time on the court. The average was between 1,000 and 3,000 a year, although it peaked at one point at 4,000. The border and drug crimes were just never ending.
A deputy marshal never knows what each day will bring. It could be providing judicial protection, hunting fugitives, or transporting prisoners around the country. We have a massive operation. We can have up to 360 prisoners in the courthouse on any given weekday. 9/11 dramatically changed the way we do things at the courthouse. The Southern District is one of the most advanced districts in the country with respect to security, including a computer program we developed that can keep track of all of the deputies and all of the prisoners within the courthouse.
In the 11 years I've been with Federal Defenders of San Diego, I've seen a huge jump in the number of criminal filings. This district has always been and remains one of the busiest in the country, driven primarily by drug and immigration cases from the border. Federal Defenders of San Diego provides the highest quality of representation to indigent individuals charged with crimes in this district.
The United States Attorney's Office has grown to be one of the Justice Department's 17 extra-large district offices with more than 135 Assistant U.S. Attorneys in place. And the size of our office in both our criminal and our civil casework is really driven in large part by border issues. However, with more naval and marine installations than any other district in the nation, we see a significant amount of military matters, including healthcare issues, civil workforce concerns, and procurement fraud.
After we celebrate our first 50 years, we need to look ahead to what's next for the court.
I think 50 years from now, trials will still be very much like they were 50 years ago. Evidence presented, cross-examination, arguments meant to convince the jury of the righteousness of your side of the case. There may be some virtual testimony, but not much. We cannot give up the defendant's right to confront their accusers, nor would we want to eliminate the jury's ability to evaluate the credibility of live witnesses.
For good or bad, technology makes prosecutors available 24/7. It's also really enhanced our ability to spot criminal conduct taking place at the border or in just about any other context. That produces a myriad of data, and available data is just only going to increase in the future. Not surprisingly, laws currently on the books and practices and policies regarding evidence aren't always spot on to the types of digital data that's coming into play these days. So over the next 50 years, we're likely going to see Congress, prosecutors, the defense bar, and our courts adapting to a wide variety of electronic data.
I would not want technology to take over the personal contacts made during a trial. Seeing a raised eyebrow, or tears in the corner of an eye, or the hesitation to answer a question.
It is important to have community outreach so that the court isn't such a mysterious place for people.
One of the projects I've been working on is the Learning Center, a new step in the direction of community outreach. It will be a way to promote understanding about what the federal courts do through displays, exhibits, and a variety of educational programs and tours. I believe this will build public trust and confidence in our court system.
Another way we bring the court to the community is our Open Doors program. We invite high school students to the courthouse where they meet not only the judge, but the marshals, clerks, interpreters, court reporters, all the people who make the court work.
You don't need an appointment. It's an open campus. You can come, you can tour, you can observe, and that's the hope.
The Southern District of California is about people. We have created not just a collection of buildings, but a unified campus environment that is both welcoming and forward-looking, no matter what the future might bring in terms of new laws and additional caseloads. I am confident that the judges and staff of our district court will continue to represent our community well and push for innovation while still providing a user-friendly court.
We are your federal court. We are your federal court. We are your federal court. We are your federal court. We are your federal court. We are your